Hello everybody, you join me on part 3 of the Wales van life trip, and today I am in the Brecon Beacons to see some waterfalls. So this is waterfall country. There's an actual signpost that says this is waterfall country, the most waterfalls in Wales, and I'm so looking forward to seeing these waterfalls, to have a lovely walk because I've always wanted to come to this place. So as I'm heading back up, doing the loop right around Wales, this is my stop. I'm actually parked about a mile away from the main car park, and I went to check the main car park to see if I can park there, and it's absolutely packed. Plus there's loads of wardens and you have to pay. So I'm on a free car park a mile away, uphill as well. So sometimes in life it just goes to show that you either do the hard work and it pays off because you get things for free, and it pays off eventually in the long run, or you take the easy option but you have to pay for it. Use that analogy for different things in your life. The plaque behind me, just in this car park, I'm about to actually walk to the waterfalls now, but it says that this whole area is renowned for its dark skies. It actually has a specific spot. This is a designated spot for the dark sky, for people that like to stargaze. Such a nice walk through all of these native trees again. You know, we've still got the conifer plantations up high, but all of this is us native trees. You got oaks, ash, beech, yews. In fact, there's an amazing grow of yew trees I'm going to show you after at the bottom where I parked by the church. That waterfall I just showed you was the first waterfall that I've seen on this trip, so let's see which other ones I can find. Now that was actually incredible, the amount of water that was flowing down there. I talked about grounding in my last video, but I just want to briefly mention it again. I came across an experiment that was done where the results of the electrons going in the body, charging your body, are instantaneous, that they can't even be properly measured, because as soon as your bare foot touches the earth, especially in charged places like this with running water, straight away the electrons are going straight into the body, energizing every cell, slowing the nervous system down so you're more relaxed, improve sleep quality. Just there's so many benefits. Just look up the benefits of barefoot grounding. But if you don't understand the actual purpose of it, which is connecting to the earth, then there's no point even thinking about the health benefits, unless you've got the number one priority, which is connecting to Mother Earth. This place, you know, surrounded by water, and people are only just trying to work out exactly what water is. You know, people could say H2O. Yeah, you're right, there's a lot more to water than we're led to believe. You know, people are only just discovering Masaru Emoto's experiments where the molecular structure is changed with thoughts, with cymatics, with sound, with vibration. It is the essence of the world, water, truly. The ancient tribes such as the Kogi, they believed that earth comes from water, that everything comes from water, that we come from water. And bearing in mind that we're like 80 to 90% water, well it's pretty much true. What have they done? They've disconnected us from water. They've stopped us drinking straight from freshwater sources, from springs. They've destroyed the springs, poisoning the water. And I say they, humans have done that because we've neglected our true selves. We don't know where we come from. We've lost respect for the natural world. And if we lose respect for water, we lose respect for everything. We destroy the water, it destroys the world. We heal the water and it heals the world. It's as simple as that. The Kogi say, to heal the waters, pay the offerings, clean it, pay tribute, go and admire it, be with it, acknowledge it. Is this powerful? You go to a waterfall like this, you feel that. I don't know about all these people if they feel that, but they'll feel it at some level. You know, a lot of people are too busy just taking selfies, but I wonder how many are truly tuning in. And again, I talk about the Kogi tribe a lot, but there was a piece of land, you know, a lot of land given back to them, given back to their care. And it was a piece of land where the waters dried up, you know, the forests were, they were massacred and everything previously. And they, within 20 years, had the water running again, the streams, the rivers in the mountains. And the forest had started to regrow. Because they say, you know, they say that if you give land back to the Kogi, they could rebuild the natural world within a 20-year period, whereas the normal human, what they call the younger brother, they would take us thousands of years to do the same thing, because they have a distinct way of doing it, a distinct way. So research the Kogi if you feel called to have a look at their work. You know, sometimes when you're living in a van, you have to kind of fill up from streams and rivers when the tank runs out. That's what I'm finding. The tank's only lasting like 4 days, and I want to save it. Whilst I've got a river here, I'm washing up with some river water. It's clean and pure though, absolutely amazing. You can actually drink it, but I've got my spring water in the back. But it's also vital as well to use a washing up liquid that is really natural, because we don't want to be poisoning the earth with all this fairy liquid crap that people use all the time. Here at the church, and I always say that before the churches came into existence, they were the ancient Druid groves of yew trees, and this is exactly what we find here. Look at the size of these yews. I mean, this one's absolutely huge, but then you've got the one next to it, which is even bigger. Just look at this. I've never seen a yew tree like this before in my life. That's a yew. Oh my god. I've just come around the other side of this yew and it's actually hollow. On the other side, you could actually live in it. Wow. Before man built the churches, we had the groves to honour the land, and this was thousands of years ago, the original ancient old world. I talk about it as well in the prophecy of Albion. And then over time, things like churches came, mainly not just for religious purposes, for harnessing the energy that is prevalent on these sites, hence why the original Druids, Celtic peoples and prior built and grew these trees on these specific sites. They weren't just anywhere, they were on specific sites of high energy, a lot of the time on ley line focal points. And this is why this area will be on a powerful ley line focal point of some sort of importance, to have these massive yew trees. And for some reason these are being kept, you know, which is amazing to see. But the point is that our original old world didn't have these churches to go and worship in. This wasn't even a religion, this was an honouring of the land. Religion came afterwards. Slowly, religion has made up lots of stories to throw us off the truth of the land. And I'm not saying, I'm not going against religion at all. You know, there's a lot of good points. But in the end of the day, what was there before religion? It was the people that were most connected to the world. They were the most in balance. And that still are the most imbalanced, the people that live on the land, the tribes. You know, they don't follow the religions. They follow what's there in front of their eyes, Mother Earth. Nature is their religion. It's all you need. You don't need a book to tell you what to do. The book is nature. The book was written by a man. Humans make mistakes. Humans lie. Humans have agendas. Nature doesn't have an agenda. Morning everybody. I'm still in the Brecon Beacons today, but the aim is today to travel two-ish hours to see a sacred spring, because I just looked on the way back to Corwin, which I'm going to finish this kind of loop off. I wanted to see another sacred spring, and I typed in the ones in the area, and this one caught my attention. So I'm looking forward to driving there today, and hopefully I can fill up from there. And it does look really good. It looks very different to any of the springs I've ever documented before on the channel. Oh, I've driven 76 miles. Like, I've got so much stuff on the floor because it was so bumpy coming here. And I've driven past Monmouth, where Geoffrey of Monmouth was from, which was pretty cool. I've not been in this area, and I've arrived in Malvern, so Malvern Wells, because I saw this one well in this area that I wanted to see, but now I'm going to have to explore so much more here. So I'm looking forward to what I can find in Malvern Wells, seeing what history I can find, seeing what's there now, what springs are running, what's dried up, what's been purposely eradicated. It seems a good place to explore, so I might stay here a day or two, and then we'll head off back to Corwin. So already this looks such an interesting place. I've got a whole map of the area, and there's 4 springs that I can go and see. So Holywell is A, Eye Well is B, probably good for the eyes, Jubilee Fountain C, and Lower Wyke Spout is the nearest one to me right now apparently. That's D. And then we've got like the churches in the town to have a look at. Maybe we'll find something else as well. I'll show you the map what it looks like now. This place was an ancient spa settlement. It's just, there's springs everywhere. I'm living the dream, finding springs again. The water around this area is meant to be extremely healing, and that's why they built this whole town around these wells. So actually, if you think about it, all the villages and towns around in the world are all there because they had a water source. So they were all came after the springs. People build a settlement when they find a water source. They won't build a settlement if there's no water source. So really, if there's a main town or a village at one point, they would have had at least one spring. And that's why it's so important that we need to actively look for these springs in the places that we are, because they will be there. They just need uncovering. Okay everybody, so I've only just arrived. The van, you can just see the top of it there. And there's this already. The Lower Wyke Spout and Trough, restored in 2007. Just brilliant to see these being restored, you know, like I always call these people out for destroying it, but there is a lot of ones that are starting to be restored, which is really positive news. Look at the flow on this. And it flows then into a trough, which I'll show you in a second, which is just there. Wow, let's have a taste of it. And then this is the trough that it flows into. You see coming from that pipe, pure clear water. So the actual well, the actual spring is there, and then it flows into this well. And if you think about it, on your travels, just take notice of structures like this that may or may not be flowing. They are springs, little walls like with gaps in them. Sometimes they appear as entrance ways. They were originally springs that looked exactly or similar to this. There was thousands of thousands all around England, and we're lucky to have them flowing like this in places like this. Got an old Celtic symbol at the front as well, where the water's coming out, and it's a lady holding the Celtic symbol, and the spiral of life at the bottom. Apparently this drinking fountain here, this is the one I've come to see, it's of pure Malvern water, piped directly from 3 springs above the town at Happy Valley, Rushy Valley and Iverscar Rock. The water is thought to come from so deep underground that pressure forces it upwards, so it'll be a primary spring, filtering it through ancient Malvern stone of the hills, which removes any impurities. And since at least the medieval times, the Malvern spring water has been highly valued for its purity and health-giving properties. In Victorian time, the town grew quickly with the fame of its water, regarded as being so pure that it contained nothing at all, in brackets. This supply is continuously filtered and tested, so it's always the purest quality. So the designer of this spring is reflecting the old Celtic standing stones. Yeah, so this is like the reflection of a Celtic standing stone, but the middle bit is the Celtic Triskelion, or the Holy Trinity, the sacred trio of life. And then obviously we've got the Celtic spiral below. And the actual sculpture, Malvina, is actually named after a Celtic princess. So that is amazing information. In the 1800s, there was a lot of hydropathy cures going around, and old spas. Sometimes they were heated as well. And these appeared all around the country. There was many in the northwest where I'm from. And now I can't think of one, maybe Buxton, maybe one. They've all been demolished. Yet the springs are still flowing. And instead we have like David Lloyd's, all these spas and spa treatments. The true spas, they were the Roman baths, but they were just named Roman baths. They weren't actually Roman baths. Everybody had these baths, not just the Romans. So it's just been destroyed, and we need to come back to that. The true spas is bathing in spring water. You know, it's the best spring water to drink, so it's going to be the best water to bathe in. Before I came to Malvern, I had no idea that there was this many running springs. I'm going to see if I can find another 2 or 3 today, but I just saw that one spring I wanted to see, and that was my natural attraction in the present moment. So we always need to go off on natural attractions. I mean, I'm trying to live my life that way. If a natural attraction is something that you feel called to see, something that your heart wants to do, and by following that, it opens the doors for infinite amounts of wisdom and truth and passion, drive and heart. It is the key to life, following your natural attractions. This is what Michael Cohen talks about. If you research his book, Reconnected with Nature, it's following your natural attractions. E.g., nature always follows the natural attractions. Like the water always gravitates towards the sea. If something's thirsty in nature, it naturally gravitates towards water because it knows that water will then nourish the ground. The things always work in balance. The wind is attracted to, it's like it's attracted to the land, if that makes sense. Everything's attracted to each other. Everything's working because the wind then blows the leaves, and then the leaves then go into the compost and mulch, and then there's no waste in nature. Everything's natural attraction, and you can use that natural attraction in nature for your whole life, for what you want to do with your heart, you know, with life, with your true soul self. I am actually stunned right now. I remember seeing a house, like a big house with a well inside. You would never know there was a well inside ages ago. And it turns out I'm right where it is. I didn't even know. If I didn't look on the internet for directions, because I couldn't find the one I was looking for, I wouldn't have known this was it. Let me turn this around, this will blow your mind. Okay, so the well is inside that house. You would just think that that was just a house next to all of these. Well, not all of them, there's hardly any, but there's a few more down there. There's no sign, there's nothing. I could actually hear the water. That's incredible. So right now I'm absolutely stunned at this map behind me, at how many springs are actually in this area. I thought there was just about 4 or 5, but there's about like 20 that I can just see on this map, but then I think there's like actual hundreds just in the hills. So I'll actually turn the camera around and show you the main ones in this area. So we've got the Brecon Spout, the Westminster Bank Spring, which is this one here, the West Malvern Tap, the St James's Spout, the Hazeland Spout, which is this picture here, the Royal Well, the White Spout, the Willow Spout, the Jubilee Fountain, which we'll try and find after, Warms Well. Then on the other side we've got Winds Point Spout, Evandene Spring, Holy Well, which is this one we're at now, the Lower White Spout and Trough, which is that one I showed you before, Weaver's Well, Ellerslie Spout, St Anne's Well, which we'll try and find after, the Malvina Fountain, which we found yesterday, the Old Bostling Springs work, the Donkey Spout, the Stocks Fountain Whipping Post, the Northern Malvern Clock Tower, which is this one here, and Lord Sandy's Spout. It says here that water has been bottled at Holywell since 1622 and still carries on to this day. I find the clock tower a very interesting one, because these type of structures and like memorials and these types of things that have been transferred really into clock towers and memorials and obelisks in our town centres all around like the country and the world. These were originally had a spring underneath, and they were then built over it. So keep an eye out for these structures in your area, and then look into the history of them, and I'm almost certain it would have a spring flowing at one point, but it's likely that they've been shut off around. This is why I'm like baffled about how many springs are still running in this area, considering England is one of the places where the springs have been like diverted and buried more than any place I've ever been to, and in the world really. Based on the plaque, that in the early days, the Babylonian word for physician was asu, meaning one who knows water. So a physician is somebody who heals, somebody who knows healing. It's where everything comes from, like I always say. It's the cure for the world, it's the cure for us, it's everything. Everything is water. This is what I said a lot about in my Cornwall series. When Christianity swept through Britain, the pagan wells swiftly became holy wells. So they were changed from sacred springs to holy wells, such as the ones you are standing in. So this is hence why it's called holy well. So holy wells are places associated with miraculous cures on pilgrimage routes to sacred sites, or where a saint had been born or martyred. And then obviously it says here that the bathers went into the spring pools naked, and according to, it says like the church, it fostered immorality. Of course, you know, everything has to be so pure with them. So they used that as a kind of a thing to get rid of them, and they were saying that unhygienic and all that nonsense. So they were slowly phased out to this day, where we still have very few proper spring spas. I think it was King Henry VIII and the church tried hard to close the immoral stews, leading to the closure of most of the holy wells. So that was King Henry VIII. The destruction of the holy well started and continues to this day. But we're also in a very important time when we're starting to now reintroduce them. We're in a very pivotal moment. It's up to us, the humans that are born now, for all the generations that come after. We're in the most important time ever in history. It's up to us how we choose what the world is going to be like. What's really interesting is the first spas, as we know them today, were established in the 14th century Europe. One of the earliest was at the Belgian town of Spa. The word spa means a place associated with healing, and a healing spring, according to the Oxford Historical Dictionary. So the spas now are not spas at all. A spa has to be a healing spring, either a warm healing spring or a cold healing spring. And sometimes they had both, where they changed in between the temperatures. And then it says also that some believe the derivation goes right back to the Roman times, to the word sanitas per aquas, which means health through water. Now, spas are just associated with pampering and beauty and treatments, but originally they had such medical basis to them. And that's what it's so important to realise, is that there's no medical basis to a spa with chlorinated water. It does the opposite. By chlorinating the water, we're going against what a spa naturally is. We're diverting away from everything natural. So the lie of hygiene, the purest water is without chlorine, without excessive chlorine and all the chemicals they put in these modern pools. We bathed in true spas originally, and we have to bring it back. It also says here that the decline in hydrotherapy was after World War II, because it was accelerated by the technological revolution in medicine, drug therapy and surgery, and you know my opinion of that if you've seen my YouTube. So evidence-based medicine, so they were forcing the natural ways out, you know, for money and power. Here that the effects of water can have a profound influence on the child, allowing them to achieve things they may have never done before. You see their eyes begin to sparkle. I love that. And it says here, as the quest for new sources of water is one of the priorities for the future, here is the role for the age-old art of dowsing, water divining. The Malvern Spa Association has joined with individual dowsers to map some of the springs on the hills. It is no coincidence that the British Association of Dowsers now has its headquarters on St Anne's Road, Great Malvern, which I'm going to head that way after. So this is round the back of the well house, and this is the actual source, I think, here of the holy well. So it says here there's a plaque, holy well, on it. So it goes into that bucket and then it flows into the house, and that's where we got it from before. Someone's left a little green man offering over there, which is amazing to see. Right now I'm looking for the famous eye well in these woods. It's above the holy well. This eye well, it's in the name. It's got a really good story of curing people's eyes, and it'll be great to pay this a visit because it's one of those ones that's just tucked away in the mud, all natural. It'll be amazing to see this one. Everybody, I have found the eye well after about 15 minutes or so searching around the paths, maybe 10, and it's a very, very, very small spring, but it's guarded by a huge holly tree, and I think it's my favourite. I love these ones tucked away in the woods. It reminds me of what I'm trying to find at St Mary's back where I live in Penwortham, so this is a special one for me. So sorry about that hideous noise. Got the tree surgeons at their evil work again. Even though they may not be chopping down the tree completely, you might just be trimming it, but I always call these people evil for what they do, you know, most of the time. But anyway, that spring that I showed you, the monument, I thought that was one of the ones that have stopped the supply, and the supply is, being diverted or anything like that. But if you press the tap, the water came out, so I could drink from that as well. So every spring that I've been to so far in Malvern has been running and has been working, and they've all tasted exactly the same. I prefer where I get my water from in Great Budworth, the actual taste of it, but it's up to people's different taste. It was still amazing water, but it's funny that they all taste exactly the same though. So that one was called the Jubilee Fountain, if anyone was wondering. So this gateway right here was apparently the gateway to the old priory, and that reminds me of where I'm from, where there was multiple springs. There's always a priory and a monastery. Again, many of the buildings demolished by King Henry VIII. There's only the priory church, begun in 1085, and this gatehouse built in 1480 may have survived from the original medieval monastery. It's a shame the museum is closed, just like the museum in Corwin. It only opens at the end of March, so it's a shame I can't see the museum, but I have my own museum. I try and find my own truth, and in the springs and in the land itself, so I'm not too bothered about that. Normally it's just mainstream narrative, but you can always just decipher in between the mainstream narrative of certain facts. There's always facts hidden in between the lies a lot of the time. So this right here is the Priory Church. What a structure this is. This place was a monastery for over 450 years before it was bought for £20 by the local people to save it from being demolished by King Henry VIII when he did his demolition of all the monasteries, dissolution of the monasteries, and that's why all of the monasteries have been destroyed all over the country. He wiped out the original old world, knowledge as much as he can. Obviously you can't wipe it all out, it's in the land itself, but interesting information. So that was really interesting how the people saved this structure from being demolished, and this gets me thinking about the springs themselves. Why have the springs in this town still been left to run untouched, but yet so many have been demolished? Is it something to do with the people in the past? When they started getting demolished, did the people get together and save them? That's the thing. The people have the power. The power is in community to stop the massacring of structures and sacred sites. Oh, the bells are going off now. Beautiful. So now we're doing a walk into the woodland again, a different section of the woodland, well, probably about 2 miles further than we were this morning, trying to find St Anne's Well. Oh, so there's a bit of building work going on around here. But this is St Anne's Well garden. So this is all the well water, the spring water, flowing through this pond. Wow, I didn't expect this. Another spring inside the structure. In fact, I'll show you from outside. So it's in this building here. And this one, it looks like a dolphin. Just flowing from it into a marble container. Drink of this crystal fountain and praise the loving Lord, who from the rocky mountain this living stream outpoured, fit emblem of the holy fount that flows from Cod's eternal mouth. Oh, it's a cod, it's a codfish. So this was a Victorian cafe, and I think it's still a cafe today. So St Anne was widely recognised as the patron saint of wells and springs. So what's really interesting is that I did mention it before, but I didn't quite realise that the water apparently is famous for having nothing at all, no minerals. And I can taste that. It tastes that there's no minerals in it. It tastes, it's good and fresh, but like I say, my water and great blood work, but I like a more calcium mineralised taste. But it's different people like different things, and different bodies need different things. But I prefer mineralised water. But it's amazing how this water, its veins have nothing, no minerals, and not just the water from this cod fountain or St Anne's Well. All of the springs in the area, and that's why you'll taste the same to me. I mean, I always say you can put loads of different waters in front of me and I'll be able to tell you which one's which. I've done it before, blindfolded. You could put where I get my water from, Great Bloodworth, and then put Evian tap water. I'll be able to tell you which one's which. I'm like a wine connoisseur. Now this is proving the point that I mentioned before. In 1963, St Anne's Well is in a poor state, and the Malvern Hills Conservators vote to demolish the Victorian octagonal building. However, roused by the prospect of losing the building, the public protest in 1964, the Conservators vote again and give grants for the repair and restoration of the building. So it wasn't the actual Conservators' decision, it was the public that got together and stood up for it, and they had no choice. The people in power have no choice, they're not in power. The people are in power. We have the responsibility and duty to bring back all of these and make sure they're still running. It's up to us. Good morning everybody. Today we are finding the last well that I'm going to be looking for on this trip. So I'm heading towards West Malvern and I'm heading the woods way. So I don't know if it's longer or shorter. It says longer on the maps, but I don't think there actually registers the paths on Google Maps. But I always wanted to go in the woodland rather than the road. So I'm heading towards St James's Church to find St James's Well. And this is the last one of this trip in Malvern. Just loving these winding paths all in the woodlands here at Malvern, like these paths that go up into the hills that lead down there. You can see another one where a lady's walking up there, and I just asked this guy the directions to this church, and I was actually going the wrong way down there. He's telling me to lead up to the way the beacon it's called or something like that, and this leads up to the right. So there's plenty of paths to explore in this woodland. Wow, what a view over the hills. The church I'm going to is just nestled in between them trees there. I've shaved about 35-40 minutes off the journey by coming over the hills. Now, when I'm doing wanders like this and walks to these sacred sites and these springs, I do feel like I'm on a little pilgrimage, especially when I'm walking over the hills with like a view like this. One day I do want to do like a proper long trek pilgrimage. I know there's a good one round near me. It's the Preston to Carlisle. That's like a pilgrimage that I would one day want to do. And obviously things like the Santiago, these are the famous ones where you take days just walking these paths in tune with the land. but these are little practices for that. And really the only way to see all of these different springs, they're all in different locations and they're not always in a straight line, so you have to kind of, it's great just to drive around and then see them. It makes life so much more exciting if you actually staying at the spots, and then you can decide which sites you want to see rather than going back home or back to a hotel. In a van, it allows you to do that. So the Church of St James, we are here at West Malvern. We've got some giant trees again in the churchyard. I really like it here, the energy is really good. Let's see if we can find this spring, take a look around the grounds. Look at these as well, the daffodils. Early February, the first of the daffodils. It's absolutely amazing to see these daffodils. Let's shake hands. Okay, so after I've done a full loop around the church, I've managed to find it, and it isn't running, this one. It's the first one that I've seen not running. But it says here St James's Spout, restored in 2009, but it's sadly not running, even though below the grid is a lot of water actually. So maybe it's a well, but it's not a running spring like the rest of them, perhaps. Unless it was running at one point, because it just says spout, so you'd think it was coming from the spout. But it is still an important one to pay a visit to. Just tucked away at the side at St James's Church. So as I was just about to leave, I just grabbed a coffee from the coffee shop and I spoke to a guy, and he said just a little bit further down from St James's Church, there's this, the West Malvern tap. So this is another one. So I've just been drinking from this now. You can just turn the tap on and the water comes out. And this is the spring water, he said. So the older man who I just met, he lives here, and he said that in May, the people come together, the people that are in tune with the springs, and they decorate them, which I find amazing, because it's what our ancestors used to do. In the old world, in the true old world, they used to pay respect to the springs and honour to them. And this year apparently the film is fairies. He said last year it was bees or something along those lines. And in May it happens, in every May apparently. And this just makes me think again that this village, there's something special about it. This is a town. This town, there's something special about it. And to acknowledge the springs in this way. This town is for the future. This is what we all need to be learning from. And that's a great end for the video. Well, I've had an absolutely brilliant time here looking for all of these springs, and I thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next video. I don't know where I'll be on the next video, but thank you for watching this part 1, part 2 and part 3 of this Wales series. If you haven't, well, I'm actually in England now actually, but it has been a Wales series so far. If you haven't seen the other 2 Wales videos, check part 1 and part 2 out. And if you're interested in this spring journey that I've done today, check my Cornwall series out, part 1 to 4. And I also did a South Coast Devon visiting Totnes and the Sacred Leech while there. So check them videos out as well if the Sacred Springs resonate with you. So thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and like this video. Maybe leave a comment or something if it also resonates with what your views and what you are doing in life. So thank you very much for watching.